The plate hit the floor so hard, it cracked down the middle. Rice scattered across the cold kitchen tile, and stew splashed in a dark red streak along the baseboard. Ronk stood over the old woman with her arms crossed, and her chin lifted high. "Pick it up," she said. "And eat." Mama Duck Fola was 78 years old. Her knees had not bent that far in years, but she lowered herself slowly, painfully, one hand gripping the counter for support, and ate from the floor in her own son's house, while her daughter-in-law watched. But this story did not begin on a kitchen floor. It began with a woman who once had the biggest heart on the whole block, a woman who fed everyone before she fed herself. On Oakwood Lane in East Dallas, everybody knew Mama Duck. She came from Nigeria to Texas with her husband Raphael, and their 2 little boys, Chitty and Tundai. After Raphael died suddenly at the breakfast table, she raised those boys alone. She cleaned offices at night, cooked on weekends, braided hair in her kitchen, and still found time to feed half the neighborhood. Mrs. Patterson got Sunday plates. The Rodriguez family got stew when illness struck. And the Johnson twins got hot meals when their mother worked late. She never kept score. She just showed up. Her eldest son Chitty grew into a brilliant young man, and won a scholarship to MIT, but pride poisoned their last night together. He wanted her to sell the house and leave Texas. She refused, and he drove away promising never to come back. Years passed. Chitty vanished into the tech world, and eventually into a life so large, his mother could only hear about it through distant relatives. Tundai stayed close. He was gentle, soft-spoken, and dependable. When Mama Duck's knees began to fail, Tundai brought her into his home on Ridgewood Drive, and told her she could stay forever. The problem was his wife, Ronk. In public, she was polished and charming, but the moment Tundai left on work trips, her mask slipped. First, the food portions became smaller. Then Mama Duck was quietly pushed out of the living room, the front bathroom, and the center of the house. Within months, her world had been reduced to a tiny back bedroom, with a single window facing a fence. When Tundai came home, Ronk performed kindness again, and Mama Duck kept silent, so she would not destroy her son's marriage. Then the cruelty turned colder. On the nights Tundai was away, Ronk put Mama Duck's food on the floor. Sometimes it was rice and a little stew. Sometimes it was leftovers scraped from another plate. Sometimes it was almost nothing at all. The old woman would lower herself to the tile, one shaking knee at a time, and eat in silence. She prayed instead of complaining. She whispered to her late husband that she was all right, though she was not. But someone saw everything. Blessing, a 22-year-old house helper from Houston, had come to the home for cleaning and laundry. Watching Mama Duck on her knees broke her heart, because she saw her own grandmother in that quiet suffering. At first, she tried to mind her business. Then she realized silence was helping the wrong person. Blessing begged Mama Duck to tell Tundai, but the old woman refused. She would not be the reason her son's home fell apart. Then Blessing asked about the other son. Mama Duck said Chitty had not called in years, and she did not even know where he lived. Blessing said she would find him. Night after night, she searched company records, conference pages, and business profiles. On the 11th night, she found a Forbes article. Chitty Fola, founder of Zenith Grid Technologies, had joined the Billionaires Club. Blessing stared at his photo, and saw Mama Duck's eyes staring back at her. She found a contact form, and wrote only 3 sentences. Mr. Fola, my name is Blessing. I work in your mother's house in Dallas. She eats off the floor. Then she pressed send, and waited. For 3 days, there was nothing. Then on the 4th morning, her phone lit up with 4 words. Send me the address. Chitty had not been back to Dallas in 24 years. Now he canceled every meeting, fueled his jet, and headed straight for Texas. By noon, a black helicopter was descending into the empty lot at the end of Ridgewood Drive, rattling windows, and pulling every neighbor to the curtain. Ronk ran to the front window, and saw a tall man in a dark suit step out, with 2 members of a legal team behind him. He walked to the house, knocked hard, and when Ronk opened the door, he asked only one question. "Where's my mother?" When she pointed him to the back bedroom, he walked past her without waiting for permission. In that small room with the single window, Chitty saw his mother sitting on the edge of the bed, with her Bible in her lap. He dropped to his knees, took her hands, pressed them to his forehead, and broke apart in front of her. He apologized for leaving, for staying away, for every day he had not been there. Mama Duck touched his face, and told him the only thing that mattered was that he had come back. Then Chitty stood up, and walked to the kitchen. Ronk tried to smile, and pretend Mama Duck had been treated well, but Chitty cut her off. "Show me the plates," he said. He opened the cabinet himself. 6 clean porcelain plates gleamed on the shelf. Then Blessing showed the video she had taken. Mama Duck on the floor. Ronk at the table. Wine in hand. Never once looking down. That was the end of Ronk's performance. Chitty told her his lawyer was already outside, and that before the day was over, 3 things would happen. The house would be placed in Mama Duck's name. Ronk would leave with only what she brought into the marriage. And Tundai would receive the video, and a written account of everything. By afternoon, the papers were signed, Ronk's bags were loaded into a taxi, and the neighbors watched in silence as she was driven away. That evening, Mama Duck stood in her kitchen again, and cooked with her own hands. She sat across from Chitty at the table, and between them were 2 full plates of food, from the cabinet that had stayed clean for too long. She never ate from that floor again, not because money arrived, but because Blessing saw what was happening, and refused to look away.